Hello. Of course it's not working on X. Of course it's broken because it's X. Hardcore mode. Look at me. Oh, is there anything worse than like applying for a place and then like feeling rejected and then seeing their incompetence and going, well, you're rejected by people who are incompetent. So awesome. Makes you feel great about yourself. Fucking hell. Like, seriously. It's not working on X. Whatever. Okay. Let me just... It comes up as live and then it says untitled. Who the fuck knows what's going on anymore? Hi. Feeling a little better since the last stream. I was a bit sick. You got to admire it, right? This is one of the things where, throughout, over the years, one of the things that I've always tried to commit to is just showing up, being myself, not worrying too much about what people think. I mean, obviously it gets to you, it gets you down. And, when you are I think, again, unless you've been self-employed or you're somebody who really invests a lot of their identity in sort of what they do, I think it's very difficult to explain like the kind of there are two. It's great to show up and be authentic and all that sort of stuff, but there is a massive amount of vulnerability attached to doing that, because if you get rejected or through no fault of your own, like with all this sort of shadow banning stuff and all that, shadow ban, whatever, right? The stuff that I've explained and I know why and all that stuff. It doesn't matter how much you know and rationalize whatever. You do take it. It can be tough when you put yourself out there as yourself to be rejected as that. I mean, it's one thing when you sort of just, you're a brand or you're a product or you're selling yourself and you're doing it in that way that's sort of somewhat removed from who you are. And there is a persona attached to this, obviously. You know, like those who know me in real life know that what I do on video is a version of who I am. It's kind of, you know, some would argue that some of it is a more authentic version of real life. Let's not get philosophical about that. But, you know, there is a weird feeling where you just kind of put yourself out there, come what may. You know, it's quite a vulnerable thing to do, and it's quite a brave thing to do, and it's something I've always tried. It's something I've always tried to do. It's a journey, and it is something that I struggle with. Like when it doesn't go well, you know, there was a point where I was quite celebrated for that. You know, like writing authentically and showing up and being me and saying what I thought and all that. There was a window of about, you know, 5 to 7 years where that authenticity was actually something that resonated with people and people loved. But of course, then people decided to go with authenticity, TM, and, you know, the influencer marketing, all that sort of stuff, where there was this sort of faux authenticity that rose up. And those of us who sort of just always just showed up, said what they thought, did what they did, come what may, you know, we kind of got punished for it, because those who were sort of more willing to create this sort of faux authenticity that we've seen out of social media, where it became monetized, people started to just adjust their personality and adjust their persona and adjust their thing like it was a product, right? Their brand became a product. And so they started to adjust that and compromise that. And you'll see that, like people who just kind of adapt their thinking to whatever, you know, they kind of go by the wind, you know, they fly, you know, they go where the wind blows. That was the sentence I was looking for. But that's part of the reason why I don't edit. It's part of the reason why, you know, well, also because I can't be asked editing, and editing takes a long time and it's boring and I can't afford an editor. But for the most part, I don't edit because there is a part of something that's lost. There is something that is lost in my particular style where, you know, you're either on board with sort of this ad lib. You know, I didn't even expect to be talking about this the second, you know, I just went, hi, how you doing? Camera's on, let's go. You know, that doesn't work for some people. Some people do just like to consume content. Okay, they see information for its utility. They see learning as for its utility. And this will come back to AI and sort of tech bros. You know, how they sort of see things for what they can do rather than the sort of process being its own reward, and that being of inherent value. And I think you are either somebody who agrees with sort of that, which is that it is that it's not just content. It is not just about its utility. It is not merely, you know, like words or language or art or music. You know, like the value is not determined by necessarily by its monetary value in a market. It, you know, that there's a number of different reasons why that may or may not occur, right? It doesn't necessarily mean, and if anything, history teaches us that those who created work of value were often not celebrated until after they were gone. Like that's just, you know, that's understanding of history. Now, also, you don't want to grapple with the idea that you know everything and that you're going to be a wonderful legend and everyone's going to be worshipping you after you're gone, and you should just ignore the marketplace. That's not true either. You do need to listen to an extent to, you know, what people want. You can't live in this current system without sort of paying attention to what people want, which is trying to package things up in a sound bites and, you know, trying to, you know, deliver content in a way that people will listen, right? Especially if you've got an important message, sometimes you've got to meet people where they're at, right? Of course that's the case. Right, and authenticity. So, hi, Stephen's here. So authenticity does matter. And I do feel that maybe people are copping wise to some of it, where I think that sitting and just showing up and just saying it, warts and all, like this is my dilemma, I think, with X, right? Which is that's what that used to be for me, which was that sort of id, right? And at some point it just became everyone was shit posting because they're shit posting. Like I've never used the word, I don't use the word shit posting because I'm not a shit poster. I am just honest. And if I'm having a shitty day, I might say some shit. If I'm having a good day, I'll say good things. it's more about but then there's people who are just one thing because they've decided that that's what the audience wants, which is shit posting or memes or, in X's case, for the most part, recycled, boring, nothing questions that get engagement, which, again, for people who do actual original content all of the time and try to have original thoughts and not repackage things, it can be a kick in the guts when you're like, find yourself on the wrong side of these algorithms, right? It does take its toll. And so, like I've got a 30-year footprint of, my name, who I am. I've got an unusual first name. So it's like, there's only one of me. It's not like I can hide behind, being Katie or Kirsty or something like that. I've got an unusual name as well. And so I just kind of leaned into it, right? And it's been really, it's been weird because, I don't know how to continue. I don't know how to proceed other than just keep going and keep pushing through and go, okay, well, because again, I come from a generation of content creators, right? I was thinking about this. Like I posted a video last night that I thought would get, I honestly think that it is an algorithm. I honestly think it is algorithmic. Okay. Because I know what spreads. Okay. I know what should at least, I'm not saying it should go viral, but I'm saying it should be seen. There's certain metrics that you can see that, whether it's been seen or I know what my numbers are and I know that I'm like, there is something going on with my accounts. Okay. I can't grow. I'm kneecapped. Okay. For whatever reason, for whatever like fuckery is going on, probably various, like I've said, various groups that I've pissed off over the years because I just I'm not an ideologue. I'm not tribal. I will just say what I'm thinking. Better, I don't adhere to a tribe. It's not necessarily something that if anything, if someone tells me that I'm supposed to think a certain thing, I will go out of my way to say the opposite just to sort of, fire shots. But that has consequences, right? Which is that there are groups out there that will mass report you. And I mean, I don't know, actually, if you've been following Owen Jones, the Guardian journalist, you'll see that like the Israel IDF like bots and stuff are currently like mass on his podcast on Spotify. They're first of all mass reporting it, but also review bombing it to 1 star. So he started out with sort of 4 and 5 star reviews, and these troll farms now are just giving it 1 star, and now his average like reviews are now 1.5 stars. Like this stuff, like. I find it bizarre that people don't understand that is occurring at all times. And if you put yourself out there and you piss off enough different groups across various things, you find yourself that you are flagged by these algorithms and you can't get out. There is no way out for me. I've done nothing wrong. There is nothing I've done wrong. But I've pissed off the far right. I've pissed off the fucking, woke, like Tumblr left. I just piss everyone off by saying, like, showing up and being normal. Like but it is funny that because then obviously the gaslighting starts, which is like, oh, well, it's just about your content. And so it's not just about the content because I know content. I'm a content person. Okay, it might not be 7 top tips of fucking, tech reviews, but I can do tech reviews as well. I can sit in front of a camera and read a script. It's not difficult. I just choose not to do that. It's like I know what notes to hit. After you've been in the industry for a certain length of time, you know what notes to hit, then you know what is usual and unusual. And I've spent 5 years testing that, okay? And there is something wrong with my account. It has got nothing to do. It's not something I did. It's nothing. It is just, you find yourself on the wrong side of a lobby group. They review bomb you. They mass report you. And the problem is that tech companies have no fucking customer support. So you can't fix it. And again, we should have the right to amend. Theoretically, especially if you're in Europe, in the EU, you have the right to amend your data, right? If they say there's a falsehood or something wrong, or you want it removed, or the right to be forgotten, or any of those sorts of things. Okay, you have rights. But obviously tech doesn't give a fuck about your rights. And that's why I flipped. I went, well, you got to start caring about people's rights. You ruin lives. Okay. And it's like, God, and it's just like trying to convince retards on the internet that the internet like it's mostly astroturfed and mostly artificial these days, right? If I'm advising somebody on a marketing campaign, now again, my specific situation is different because a lot of it is fuck around, find out. If I'd kept my mouth shut, if I had just got towed the line, or said not said anything about this turf war stuff, but then also not turned around and said, well, no, I'm sorry, but this far right stuff is not acceptable either. I am just being normal and I'm talking about policy and law, and I'm sorry, but I don't give a fuck about your bots and your astroturfing, and I'm not I'm not an idiot. I can't be nudged. Go away. Okay. And I just happen to just be a fucking normal person. A political scientist who thinks everyone has gone off their fucking rocker and cares too much about politics. If I'm telling you care too much about politics, studied it for a decade, you're unwell. If you haven't studied politics or don't work in politics and you're talking about politics, that's a mental illness at this point. If you're arguing about politics online, you're mentally unwell. Unless, obviously, you find yourself in a position where you fucking have to do it for your job because you've, invested money. If you're sitting there with no degree, mouthing off about politics, with no skin in the game, nothing to lose, nothing to do, you're mentally unwell. From me. So, you've disappeared into politics because, obviously finding God is a fucking outdated concept now. So rather than becoming a born-again Christian, people become a born-again socialist, okay, or born-again fucking conservative. They go on online and they start fucking acting like evangelicals for whatever cause that they've fallen into because they're trying to escape their life, okay? I see through it. I know what it is, okay? Now, if I'm being charitable, I understand why, because that's alienation. But again, that would require you to read. And people don't do that. But yeah, so, but this does come back to tech, which is that, it's not good enough. It's not good enough that I can't call somebody and have my account fixed. It is just not good enough, especially given that the deal changed. And this will be where I talk about the New York Times thing, because I think that this gets to the root of the problem with tech bros, tech companies, the money that gets funneled into tech companies, which is basically for them to wreck everything, gaslight everybody, pretend that they didn't but do a bait and switch. They have stolen user data. They've stolen all of our data that's not theirs. They've stolen all of our creative works that are not theirs. They've stolen our code that is not theirs, and they need to pay. They need to pay for users in the form of data dividends, for all of the use of their data and secrets. We need dividends now, not just token universal basic income bollocks, a data dividend. So if I have given you this much data for 30 years and 3 of my kids and all of that, and I gave you that in good faith, you owe me more than someone who's anonymous. You need to remedy this situation. That is the thing that tech has to face, that you stole shit that is not yours. Tech bros, it ain't yours. My data is my data, not yours, okay? Now, there's some loopholes around the law around that where they've tried to argue that because the way they own the database, so they've created a database that holds the data. And so the proprietary part of it is the technology and the data that processes and holds that information. Bollocks! Because you also stole from the open source people who were talking about share and share alike. People who develop MySQL and PHP. I mean, obviously they're outdated, but PHP, MySQL, all the languages, not .NET's proprietary, it came out of that. But I'm just saying, open source code, open source languages, not yours. It was developed by us in good faith because we saw potential for the internet to be something different other than what you are creating and bringing about. AI, not yours. The stuff you learned on, not yours. Pay for it. Stop being a fucking loser and a mooch. Pay for shit. People, you stole my shit. I love the semantics. This is the semantic. Like, if you actually zoom out and you go, okay, let's get into some online quibbles about the copyright law. No! You know what you did, cunt. You know that you lied. You know that you said that OpenAI was a research organization, not for profit, for public good. And now you valued it $100 billion. Give us the money. Pay for it. Like a normal fucking person. Not yours. It's like, again, because I've been in the tech industry, like, here we go. Maybe my voice is not so great. Not as bad as it was a few days ago, but it's still a little honky. Okay. Hang on. Give me a sec. They keep fucking lying. So I was there. I knew. I wrote blogs. I have been writing on the internet since I was 15 years old. I'm now nearly 45. Okay. That's 30 years that I've got a footprint using my real name. You know, thankfully, you know, like most of it's disappeared, which is weird because, you know, if anyone's got a like trackable footprint, it's me. I'm sure it's somewhere. Right. But like it's I was there. I was there when you said that this was open source and that if we just wrote the plugin and contributed the plugin or contributed to the code base, that we were building a movement. I was there when the blogging like started and everyone was like, be authentic, talk online, write your stories. You know, people will come to you. Advertisers will come to you. You have an audience. You build an audience. Be authentic. Share your stories. I was there. I was doing it. You lied. Okay. I started my career building on forums and, you know, building fan forums and, you know, like artists who were like, okay, you know, your fans can support you and you can build a community and stuff. Not what can I extract out of my fans, but how can I like work together with my fans, have a good life, have a good creative existence, and how can I build a small community of loyal followers where it is a collaborative thing. I get to enjoy art and enjoy creating. We will use open source software and my fans will love me because they get to contribute something. Nope. Now my fans only exist for me to harvest from all different angles. Okay. What I will do is I'll be authentic and I will show up and I will recommend products that I believe in. I'll campaign for my deeply held political positions. Shall I? No. Like, this is what's happened. I was there. So they keep lying. It's funny how they sit there, and it's probably why I'm shadow banned, which is that I was there the whole fucking time. I saw open source, people who contributed to open source get fucked by greedy people who would like, again, at some point I should write a bit more about what happened with Joomla, right? So Joomla was one of those things where it's split, as it does in the open source community. But again, whenever you put a marketplace into an open piece of open source software or someone tries to commercial it, they wreck it, okay? They absolutely fucking wreck it. And they build these plugins. Like if you're a WordPress developer, you know what I'm talking about, which is this sort of plugin bollocks where suddenly it's gone from being open source and building a plugin. Like I can just, you know, we can get one created. That's not an issue. But I used to just write a plugin. Or contribute back to the community or, you know, I used to work for Moodle. I was, you know, I used to, you know, I've done all of these sorts of things. Anyway, so I'm very passionate about the open source community, right? But at some point, the people who contributed back in good faith got fucked by the people who were greedy, who just decided that because it was share and share alike, that it was theirs to steal and take and use and profit from. Okay, now that is the double-edged sword of open source, right? That is the double-edged sword, which is that you contribute in good faith. And the premise is that, you know, it will come back and you will be rewarded and, you know, people will appreciate it, but that's not the case anymore. You've got a whole cohort, a large cohort of people who made billions of dollars off the back of free labor, billions of dollars off the back of user data, billions of dollars off the back of fucking, everyone's art and harvesting their art and their words and everything that pouring your life's work. Okay, now whether you like my blog or not, or my stuff, a lot of what I do is like I don't actually share a lot of it anymore because I know that AI is training on my fucking shit. So I don't even want to publish stuff anymore. I'm afraid to. Right? That's the reality that we live in, which is that I go and I post an authentic blog post, as I've always done for 30 years. I just posted a story or written or said something or, expressed myself on my WordPress website. I can develop, on which is built on PHP and MySQL. Okay, if we're being simple. Okay, built on PHP, MySQL, open source languages, built with over 15 years of like free labor, the people who contribute to core. I mean, obviously now there's automatic employees and various other things now, but simply built off of the back of free labor of thousands of people over many, many years to write, so I can write my shit on the internet. Okay, I now have written that, and guess what? OpenAI have decided that they can just scrape that shit and it's theirs now. Okay, that's theirs. Everything that again, it's not that simple because obviously this is not about the letter of the law. This is not about the issue of law. The issue of law will tease itself out in the court. This one is more of one of which type of person you are and whether you're a good person or not and your mindset. Okay, as a web designer, because obviously I was a web designer for a long time, and it's part of the course, which is that if you put it on the internet, it's going to get stolen. Okay, I'd have designs ripped off. I'd have my flash files, reverse engineered and, repurposed and all that sort of stuff. In a way, it's kind of a compliment, okay? Because one thing I've known is that the people who steal your shit usually do a very poor version of, because nobody can replicate your skills, like they can't replicate what you do necessarily. And what you do is not necessarily the thing, right? And that comes back to that discussion about utility. Like these guys, it's the mindset, which is, it's all about what it can do for you. It's not for uncreative people who take, who mooch, who consume, who don't actually contribute anything substantial to the world. Okay, they just are. They're there to consume. They're not there to build. They're not there to create anything. They're not there to sort of challenge anything or change anything, or they don't have any real anything meaningful. Okay, going on in their life. They see, books as things that are just, they're just transactional. I've talked about transactional thinkers before. Like they're very just transactional. What can this book do for me? What's in it for me, people? They'll take a book. This is what, like the business book people, right? Where they'll only read that, and people who would read a book that is only a summary, okay? Now, I'm not talking about audiobooks. Audiobooks I find tremendously valuable because I actually get more reading done, by listening to audiobooks. But people who will download these apps where it's like a 15-minute TLDR of what the book says because they got the gist of the book because they're too busy. It's like there's those people, okay, who want explain it to me like I'm 5. Or they want it like a summary. They want a listicle of everything, okay? They are not clever people. They are lazy, okay? And what they think that by consuming more snippets, it makes them smarter than somebody who goes like sort of deep and like will actually read the book. The process of reading the book itself, okay? Like anyone can turn around and understand. Okay, let's use Capital, Marx as an example, okay? Very few people have actually read Capital, right? Just big, it's boring. And very few people actually have read a lot of the books they claimed. Orwell is a classic example of the people who think that they've read 1984 because they saw the movie or they've read a summary or, whatever, right? The process of reading, like the way our brains work, the process of consuming information, it is not storing things into you're not leeching from BitTorrent and hoarding data onto a hard drive when you are learning. When you are learning, you are building, you're rewiring your brain. You are expanding your mind. You are shifting your attitude. You are actually building values subconsciously, consciously. You're not just reading a book on how to sell things. You're not just reading a book on like what's the points. You're not trying to pass a test. The people who are just there to try and get through the test, versus people like who enjoy the process and enjoy learning for its own sake. And I'm feeling very squeezed out and under a lot of pressure to conform to these ideas, like I'm supposed to rush and I'm supposed to get to the point. I'm supposed to write listicles. Everything that I do is too long, or it's too boring, or I use the wrong words, or I don't say it the right way, or it's wrong accent. Not having a dick is a big one, right? But also it's like it needs to be corporate friendly. I need to wrap it in a package that people are willing to listen to. And it's like, are there any people anymore who just value the process? Like the process. And that is the problem, I think, with capitalism in general, is that capitalism only values the widget, not the process that goes, the labor that goes into behind the widget, right? The actual learning. Like when I actually sit and I think about like the shoulders of giants that I sit on every day, the absolute arrogance of tech bros who use, like I said, open source languages, the labor of decades of people like myself who've contributed to code bases, who've done things, who've bug fixed, who've evangelized the movement, who've done free work, shown up every day. They show up every fucking day because they believe in this cause. And you just turn up and you take it for granted, and you don't even, and this again, it just feeds back to that whole people who just plagiarize it. This is what plagiarism, this is the inherent problem with plagiarism, is that you don't acknowledge where you come from, and that what you give nothing back. You're just a taker, right? And I feel like that is so many people now. They're only focused on what they can get, what they get out of something. That, no, I don't know, like, if this is whether this has always been the case. I understand that when people are struggling and in survival mode, they're not necessarily sort of thinking clearly like that, right? Paul, can I have a coffee, please? Calling my husband for a coffee. I don't talk to him like that normally. He's just at the other end of the house. Anyway, but I do wonder, it's like, again, maybe I don't see many people giving anything anymore where it doesn't have something in it for them. And I've noticed that even people who are generous and do give, the reasons why they're doing it are to control or to to make themselves feel better. They don't just do something just purely for altruistic reasons, right? And I think that when we're talking about like AI, right, and I will explain a little bit, again, it's just a filing, so it's not really much point. Like anyone can file anything for any reason, right? Hang on, I'm going to message my husband and ask him for a coffee because he's not listening. Hang on. I want a coffee. Give me a sec. Hang on, I'm going to message my husband because he's not near me. Anyway, but why, like people really just, I think the AI thing coming to a head really just exposes a lot of issues for me that, again, we were there. I was there. I saw what you did. I saw they lied about it. They said that they would be research. Like this is a big part of the complaint, right, for the New York Times's case against OpenAI, is that initially they didn't they sort of let it happen, and they turned a blind eye to it because OpenAI was supposed to be altruistic and we're supposed to be for research, and it's generally considered like poor form to sue academics, so they didn't, so people wouldn't do that, like if it was for research purposes or for academics or for but they used that to then to profit and You know, like this idea that, hang on, oh, sorry, oh, thank you. Can you also fill up my phone? Thank you, slave. Thank you all. I love you. He's good to me. Is my computer, is my stuff chugging? It is a little bit. That's all right. Am I chugging a bit? Maybe. Seems to be fine. Anyway, I'll ignore it. Whatever. What was I going to say? I can't remember. I got distracted by the hardware thing. Oh yeah. Like I think people forget. I think we just forget because we're so used to, people just take for granted like how much free labor, free energy, creative work, all that stuff has gone into all of this stuff that they're now claiming ownership of. And it's like, it's time to pay up. Fucking pay up. That's all we're asking. Pay your share. You lied. Remedy that. I want a dividend for my data. I want the ability to we're not making huge demands here. We're making fairly reasonable demands for a functioning, empathetic, this is a basic level of humanity that we're talking about. We're not talking about anything particularly controversial here. Okay? Which is that you stole shit from us. We can't fix it. I can't fucking contact a single person at Twitter. I should be able to. I gave you my data for 15 years. I've been giving you money. I have evangelized the platform. I should be able to contact somebody and say, there's been a mistake and have you fix it. That is my right. And you can quibble about the law. You can use your predatory contracts. You can fucking, get all your tech bros on there. But that is just a fundamental, basic human decency thing. And I want to get away from these like political debates, okay? Which is that at the end of the day, we're talking about basic fucking human decency. We're not talking about anything terribly controversial, okay? It's basic stuff. You stole, you lied, it's time to fix it. Make it right. It's really not that simple. But of course, it'll turn into the New York Times is like fucking shit anyway. So I'm just going to side with OpenAI because I don't think copyright should exist. It's like, well, okay, good luck with that. It's written into the US Constitution. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Smart ass. Hang on, let me just check. I am chugging a bit. It is jittering a bit. That's all right, hang on. Let me just turn off the preview, see how we go. Hang on. Turn off the preview, see if that helps. Oh, it does my head in, this stuff. Doesn't matter what I do. Oh, anyway. Maybe I should just start talking bollocks. Anyway. I think that's the context of all this stuff with OpenAI, because we're seeing that now with these guys. This was ours because you made it available. You're a woman talking in public. I have the right to disrespect you. This is the mindset that you need to get away from. Let's zoom out from it. This is the mindset. It's not all about you. It's not all about what technically you're allowed to do. It's not all about what you feel. It's not all about what you've got to say. It's not all about, it maybe think about others, okay? For like 2 seconds, maybe just basic empathy. Sit down, think about the amount of open source software that you're using and how much free labor has gone into building that like language and continues to. Okay, PHP is now at what, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, something like that. PHP's been 30 years old, however old it is. MySQL runs most of the internet. WordPress, free labor. Okay. Twitter, users, free labor. All of our tweets, free labor. That's what it is. The users are what make the platform great, okay? OpenAI scraped the internet, including Reddit, Twitter, the New York Times. Now, is the New York Times a sympathetic fucking victim? No. Does the New York Times have the resources to fight something that might actually benefit, might actually argue a point of law that will have benefit for those who don't have the money to sue Microsoft? Yes. And that's why it's like, well, you need to back these sorts of cases, okay? You need to get your head straight. You either are one of those people who thinks that the work of others is yours to consume, to harvest, to demean, to summarize. It's just, let's reduce it down to a list. Let's reduce it down to a meme. Let's steal it and put a blue check mark on it, retweet it, fucking take the engagement money. I'll tell you now, if I ever get to a point where I actually share and I am retweeting or quote tweeting, okay, other people, and I'm ever in a position where I'm getting revenue, which I doubt, but, if I'm ever in that position, I will share that money because I'm not a cunt, because I understand that people create content and that original ideas, especially jokes and that sort of stuff, right? If I got revenue from, if I got revenue, say hi to the kids, Paul. No. He said, nah. No, but if I was in a position where, if I was recycling memes, if I was taking stuff, okay, if I was, whatever, right, I'd make sure that people got paid. At the moment, I'm not earning anything, so it's like, well, I just share it because I just share whatever meme because it's fucking there, right? But then there's the people who are like, no, someone put it out there. It's mine now. It's mine now because someone put it out there. I can go up to her and say whatever I want to her online because she's out in public. I'm just going to put my dick in her face. It's mine. She's public property. It's in public. I can do what I want because it's in public. Okay? Someone put it on the internet. Oh, well, that's mine now. I can just right-click, copy and paste and steal it. Doesn't matter because legally I'm allowed to. Legally, I have the right to. I'm going to tell you now, after, 20 years in business, that contracts exist for, if you are writing your contracts in a way that is going to determine and run the relationship rather than protect you if it breaks down. In all my years dealing with clients, talking to clients, I've been sued. Been sued. That's part of being in business. People do that, right? People try their luck. Then you fuck up. Okay. A contract exists to protect you should it go wrong. If you are using the words of the contract in the business relationship, the relationship's already dead. Okay? It's the same thing. I have this view with prenups and stuff as well, right? If you're talking, it's one thing to have a prenup that protects you should the relationship break down. But if your partner is constantly talking about the terms of your agreement in the relationship or talking about the prenup or all of that sort of thing, the relationship is shit. Okay, it's the same thing with people who are constant, I know that I'm forming my thoughts. I'm riffing on this, right? That's why it's not a purpose-built fucking thing. It's just a spilling the episode, right? But I just don't know if those people exist anymore. Like whether I'm actually one of those rare people who just, I share alike and I try to do the right thing and I try to be good to people. I get frustrated. I have trust. Oh, that's why it's shaking. Okay, that's why it's not performing well. It's running out of battery. Hang on, let me plug my phone in. I may disappear for a second. Just give me a sec. Did it freeze? No. Are we good? That's why it was slowing down, because it was running out of battery. Okay. I'm using my phone now, not my camera, so it's like But the way that, I'm just trying to articulate the sort of transactional thinkers or takers. And I think that we need to put more stigma and social pressure around this entitlement. Because it's not, being a socialist is not just about, why would you be, why are you of, if you're on the left or, if you're watching me, you're probably, at least sympathetic to the ideas that I've got to present. But if you're on the left and a socialist, why? Right? Political ideology, well, if you're looking at political psychology, right, it's linked to your personality. It is linked to your values. It is linked to the way that you work through the world. Okay. And it is inherently, why are you somebody who, and again, obviously there's people who use socialism, okay, or socialist theory or whatever to be transactional and take from other people and justify that sort of stuff. But if you're sort of deep into socialism, as in deeply held value, okay, you are not a transactional person, okay? You are somebody who will give to others with no expectation of anything in return. Okay, so that's one earmark of sort of socialism, I guess, is that you're not worried about people being lazy, right? I would rather lazy people get fed and have shelter than psychopaths run the show. I'm sorry, but they're not the same. I want everyone to get fed. It's not really an argument, okay? I'm not in the business of worrying about people who are mooching and, it disappoints me. Yes, I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But at the same time, I'm not going to fixate on it. I'm not going to build my whole society around the fact that some people might not work as hard as I do. Like, that's a bit fucking oh no, it's like, because I know that regardless of the system that's around me, okay, regardless of how we design our society, I love the process. It comes back, I love the process of learning, of working. I love, I like reading, I like creating, I like building, okay? I think that people who are worried about socialists being lazy, okay, are people who are afraid that if they're not given the worst of the incentives that are they think that, again, only people who have pure monetary incentives are worried about any of this. I just see right through it, which is what? Oh, there's no incentive if there's no money in it. Well, that's not true. Most people, the people I know who build things and would build things regardless. And if anything, under a capitalist system, are more frustrated because they are squeezed more to do things that they don't want to do and don't like bullshit fucking paperwork and stupid bollocks. And, in order to survive, when they would actually have, my husband's a classic example of that. He would be building amazing things if he didn't have to live, right? Instead, he has to do a lot of fucking stupid shit. And that's most people. Most people who are builders, it doesn't matter what framework you put in place. They will build, okay? They will contribute back, like the open source movement. I think we've got to get back to basics when it comes to talking about tech and reminding people, especially this generation of fucking millennials and Gen Z, not remembering who the fuck built what they take for granted, this code. Okay, you might be able. I was thinking about this actually the other day about tech bros, and I think it's going the way of mechanics, right? In 1945, I'm sure that someone who knew how to fix a car was a very precious commodity. I'm sure that they were in high demand. They were rare. They were unusual, and because motor cars were new, okay, and there were very few people who knew how to fix one. You're not that great now. And we had that sort of period in the sort of 90s and 2000s where, anyone can fix a car, service a car, right? Most people can drive, people can change a tire, all that sort of stuff. Stuff that would have been sort of, oh, you're a wizard because you happen to be one of the few people that knows that. That's passing in tech. Okay. And so I think that tech bros need to get their shit together and stop being such pricks. Okay. Like if you're like, especially if you're like in the IT part of IT, okay, you're a mechanic. You had it good for a decade where cars were new and only a few people knew how to build cars and make cars. Okay. It's the same thing with tech and IT. Okay. Now you're just a mechanic for fucking internet shit and servers and stuff. You know, that's special. First of all, anyone can learn how to do server admin shit. So anyway, thinking about fucking IT guys, same thing with code. Okay. We all learn, you know, like we all have those, again, not everyone can code, not everyone can fix a car, not everyone can be a mechanic. But it has gotten to a point where there is like, you need something that you're not really innovating just because you can code. So cut the fucking attitude is my main point. It's not yours. People who are better than you, people who operated in good faith, better people than you, people who were better at code than you, people who wrote these things and overcame these things when it was difficult to code. We didn't have frameworks. We didn't have things. We had to create solutions to things that didn't exist. We had to fill gaps. We were the innovators. You're just assembling things, okay? There's only a handful of people in every generation who actually build stuff. This is, I think, my beef, I think, reading all this tech bro shit lately. You're assembling code. You are on an assembly line. Much like the car, much like, you know, in the old days, it's now like that with like computers, okay? You're on an assembly line. You're not building anything, but what you are doing is you got to start thinking, think about your supply chain. Tech bro, you know, the code just didn't appear out of nowhere, okay? Someone made that. PHP started as open source, okay? Still is. The Linux community, open source. Share and share alike, okay? Yes, now it did have some corporate sponsorship over the years, but for the most part, right, the corporations who contributed to the open source community did it because they believed in open source and they believed that everyone should have access and that everyone should, you know, build, not that it was yours to steal and misappropriate and pass off as your own work, okay? Now, again, we're not talking about quibbles of copyright law, okay? That's irrelevant. I'm talking about the morality of this stuff, okay? And how you should be thinking about things. Think about your supply chain. When you build things, are you building your own language? No. Facebook was built on PHP. Did you know that? No, you didn't. Facebook was initially built on PHP. Twitter initially built on PHP too, I believe. It might have been Ruby. But, you know, these things were built on open source languages, open source software, open source databases. Users came on and shared the content that made people come back. The hashtag, developed by users. The retweet function, developed by users who saw a need. Quote tweet, developed by users. It's not yours. It is not yours. It is ours. And I just want to call support. I want to just be able to call someone and say, you know what? I understand this whole thing. I get it. I get that you said that we should just like say what we're thinking and put it in the box and try to do the right thing. And I get it that you encouraged, you know, people to use their real names and real identities and be authentic. I know that you said to be authentic for fucking 10 years and that you did a bait and switch. And now my data is you claiming that it's yours and that I have no means of, but I'm just asking you to fucking fix my account. That's it. That's all I want. And maybe a dividend. Okay? Maybe the ability, maybe a fair shot. Maybe the ability to get actually fucking seen and discovered on any of these social platforms. Not where, you know, various actors who pay you enough money to abuse my data and abuse me, a good actor on these platforms, not prioritize them and their needs because you're a greedy cunt who doesn't understand the concept of open source and doesn't understand that it's not your product. It is our product. We built it. You didn't build it. You coded it. You assembled it. The only people who built Twitter are the people who listened to the users of Twitter. Okay? You might have provided some of the capital. You might have provided a little bit of the infrastructure. And yes, I'm obviously being simplistic, that building a scaling platform like that takes a team, okay? But where did they learn to code? How did they learn to code? I'm guessing a lot of them learned on languages that were created by other people, doing coding on platforms that were coded by other people for free, by networking with other people that did them favors, okay? By, users who would give feedback and constantly give feedback and, help make and co-design the product to make it better, okay? This is what makes these tools great, not you. It's not yours, OpenAI. It is not yours. Our data is not yours. I've said this before and I'm repeating myself, but I'm just making sure because I might have a fucking, if I repeat it enough times. But I think I think people are forgetting that. And it might be just generational, where they think that's a generational thing, where these dipshits in their 20s explain to people like me how actually it's theirs. No, it's not. I built that. That's not why I handed that code over to you. I fixed that bug in Moodle and fixed that bug in WordPress and committed it to the fucking repository because I believed in share and share alike, and I thought that you would return that favor at some point. Not that you would harvest it. I wrote in good faith because I thought that the internet and I could get my story out there and that it would lead to good things for me and I could develop build my audience and do some good in the world. No, you took it, scraped it, stole it, used it to fucking, weaponize everything. Took our political data. Again, why is nobody this is how you should be thinking about these fucking tech companies. It's not yours. Okay, our behavior and our data in particular. Okay, this is the fundamental problem with capitalism, is capitalists who think that it's theirs. It's not theirs. Okay, there is no such thing as a self-made millionaire. Well, there's no such, maybe millionaire, there's no such thing as a self-made billionaire, ever. There is no such thing as a self-made person in general, I would say. Okay, we are social animals. We are collaborative animals. Okay, there is no such thing as self-made. So for people to turn around and act like OpenAI are some little fucking daycare center being sued by Disney when they are the Disney, it's fucking Microsoft being sued for stealing all our shit. Don't keep being fooled by these jeans and sneakers. It's like they're psychos. They're thieves. They're liars, and they've stolen our labor, stolen our data, and they need to pay for it. It's not their right. And you can go, oh, that's not how they work. Well, I don't give a fuck. They lied. They need to pay. It really does become quite that simple. It doesn't matter whether I've got a legal argument or what the legal position is, right? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this is about, like I said, basic decency. I was there when they fucking told this story, that being authentic and sharing alike and paying it forward and, make it available, share your best self, show up to the world, create things, and it will be good for you. No, we've been fucked. Users, creators, artists, we are fucked by these people and they need to pay. If you're truly concerned with merit and a meritocracy, they need to be paying for the use of our data and our IP and the things we create. Okay? It is not about the quibbles of law between two corporations with hundreds of millions of dollars of fucking lawyers. It's got nothing to do with it. It is about the stories that we tell ourselves to justify our own behavior. Everything, if you've even touched open source, you're exploiting someone else's labor. Okay? That's a fact. These things they're being used in ways that were that was not the story that we were told. We believed in open information. We believed in, somehow. Okay, the thing that's pissing me off the most is this twisting that OpenAI have done, and AI bros in particular, these tech bros, which is, I know what it fucking meant. Okay, where they were like, we don't want to, we don't believe that so the core of the open source movement was share and share alike, that it is not, that it is owned by everybody, that it is a public good, and that if everyone just pays back into the public good, okay, but there was an unwritten understanding, written and unwritten. The GPL mostly hasn't been tested, right? But, there's an unwritten rule that the subtext of that was basically Microsoft are the devil. Microsoft, with their proprietary software, ownership of everything, trying to monopolize the fucking tech market, monopolizing the internet. They're not the good guys in these things. But somehow they've managed, again, much like we've done with every fucking thing, is twist it and turn it back on the real victim, okay? Do some quality fucking level Darvo and say, no, we're actually the victims here because the New York Times are also part of the media and the media's bad. We're just the little guys because Sam Altman sits there with his blue eyes. You don't think that Sam Altman hasn't been fucking handpicked by these fucks as the face? I know that face. Fucking like, oh, I'm sorry. Jeans, sneakers. It's like, no. How many times do we need to fucking like? It's a costume. And it's like they're suing Microsoft and OpenAI for large-scale theft of like IP it's not just about the New York Times, okay? It's about the theft from everybody. Now, there are people who actually saw this and tried to do the right. Adobe, Firefly, okay? There's a reason why Adobe's AI is a bit shit at the moment, and that's because their Firefly, the way that the AI generation has worked for Adobe is that they've actually said it's an opt-in, opt-out like thing, whether you want to be part of it. And if you are a part of it and it is used as in our AI tools, then you will be compensated, okay? They did the right thing. Adobe, for the most part, have done the right thing there, okay? That's how it should have been done. Now, is there room for smart contracts and those other things to sort of allow for dividends and all those sorts of things? Yes, but, like, who cares, okay? At the moment, the horse is bolted, and we need to get back to what the actual truth of the matter is, which is that these tech companies put these fucking blue-eyed, smiley guys, they're well-liked, oh, he's inoffensive to everyone, guy who as the face of a fucking thieving, evil, monopolistic, psychopathic corporation, and they call it, and they pretend they're the little guy. It's like, it's no different to these fucking oil baron companies hiding behind mum and pop businesses when they try to fucking, like, when you try to tax them. Or the Daily Wire complaining about independent creators and their censorship. No, they're not. They're just like, no, Murdoch pretending like that to be for the little guy. It's the same bullshit. Stop falling for it. OpenAI, again, this isn't. I'm not engaging in the quibbles. Okay, legal. First of all, the people on there, tech bros, aren't lawyers. Stop arguing on the internet about law. You're not a lawyer. Shut the fuck up. Okay, this is going to take a while too. It's only a filing. It's probably going to settle. They're probably just trying to shake them down for a licensing fee. That's how the courts work. If you knew anything, you'd know that. Okay? No, OpenAI do not want this to go to the Supreme Court. They most definitely do not. Okay? They will negotiate a license fee. Okay? It'll be settled in court. That's what's going to happen. Okay. Anyway. Again, but it really does become about the story that you believe, and the story that you take on, and the story that you tell yourself about tech, and about, especially if you work in tech, the lie. I told that lie many times to myself, making the world a better place. We're user-centered. I do user-centered design. What I do is I sit in a lab and I listen to the users, and I design experiences with them that they want, and gives them what they want. There's no problem. I had this conversation 10 fucking years ago with someone who worked at PayPal, who should have fucking listened because they were wrong. Thought they were smarter than me. They're not. Okay? there's a problem with the way the data is being used. Well, it's fine because we give people what they want. Okay? Rupert Murdoch says that too, by the way. That's Rupert Murdoch's talking point. Okay? I'm not evil. I just give people what they want. Okay? There's what people say they want and what people really want. And guess what? I said you shouldn't be doing that with people's data. You shouldn't be doing that with people's data. Oh, no, we're just doing it. It's fine. First of all, everyone else is doing it. Second of all, I'm giving people what they want. So off the hook. No, I won't talk about it, actually. No, it's even though time's passed, I don't want to be talking about that shit. But, there's some stuff. People who work for Monsanto, okay, I'm being as general as I can. People who work for Monsanto brands. I've sat there and I have watched them go, those studies aren't true, and rallied off these studies, and they just defend Monsanto because it's their job. It's like, you can work for Monsanto and go, this is a load of shit, but I've got bills to pay. But you don't have to believe it. Like, have some self-respect, okay? Have some fucking self-respect. The same thing with tech, okay? Working for a tech company. And it's like, well, you could go, well, yeah, it's a load of corporate bollocks and this is what you've got to do. And it's like, you could do that without actually defending them and fucking licking the boots of the people who fucked everybody and are evil, objectively evil, by pretty much every metric, okay? Stealing data that's not theirs. It's running mum and pop businesses out of fucking business. All of those sorts of things. Using AI to fucking abuse employees, union busting, monopolizing, not paying taxes, right? Strong-arming every government that tries to regulate them. Yeah, I'm sorry, but, oh yeah, okay, tech bro, you're making the world a better place. Prove it. Okay? It's one thing if you say it in a Zoom call because you're forced to because you got to eat. It's another thing if you're sitting there actually believing it. That's just pathetic and sad. Okay? It's not theirs. Okay? I think Amazon was built on PHP. A lot of them were initially. Open source. Everything was built on the labor of others. It's not theirs. It's not yours. You assembled it. And if you hadn't assembled it, someone else would have. But the reason why VCs chose you and not people like me is because you're a psycho and you're willing to lie and you're willing to cheat. People like me, product's the same. Anyone could build a fucking online store, but most of us aren't willing to fuck people over to do it. Okay? Most people aren't psychopaths. But this is what I think this is what I am actually asking of people, which is if you're not a psychopath or you like to think of yourself as non-psychopaths, because psychopaths, people are very good at rationalizing their own behavior. A lot of people who are sociopaths or fucking, have personality disorders are very good at rationalizing that. I don't know, myself included perhaps. I don't know, maybe. I try not to, but maybe. I'm open to that idea. I'm very good at rationalizing our own shit. If you're a non-psychopath, stop pretending and stop defending these people. Stop believing them when they say that they're going to pay, that they support a UBI, for example. Stop supporting them when they say that they're doing research or that it's a public good. Stop believing them when they say that they should pay taxes when they're fucking running offshore shit. Stop believing them when they say they care about their users. They don't. Stop believing them. That's all I'm asking, is that you stop believing them. I mean, ideally, I'd like you to actually do more than that and fucking demand that they get regulated. But stop fucking believing them. That's it. I understand people have to earn money and you got to say the bullshit and say the thing because, we live in this fucking hellscape where authenticity is now a fucking brand. Not something that you can actually do or be. If you're authentic, don't be too authentic because you get fucking fucked. I wish someone had told me that part. Authenticity, TM. Right? Not fucking, don't be really authentic. That makes brands uncomfortable. Coca-Cola might not want to sponsor that. Fuck off, Coca-Cola. That wasn't what the deal was. You said be yourself. You said open source. You said it was for research. OpenAI. You said it was academics and fucking engineers and like that you're doing research. And that's why people turned a blind eye to your copyright theft. And then you turned around and started getting fucking $100 billion. Where's our cut? Where's the cut? And then you've got all these fucking people that are like, oh, well, copyright is just a construct that favors corporations. No. Shut up with that fucking bollocks. Okay? Copyright law, initially, as it exists, or initially intended, was for people who were artists and people who created ideas to get paid and credit for those ideas. Not for massive corporations to abuse copyright. Okay? Disney doesn't own the copyright to things. Disney has bought and sold and fucked artists. Record labels don't own the copyright. They stole it and they're passing it off as their own. Okay? I don't oppose copyright. I oppose corporate fucking abuse of copyright. They are different things. Okay? Pay a license fee, pay license. And YouTube, pay for fucking content. What cents in the dollar? It's not even worth it. Not even worth being a partner. I don't get the views anymore anyway. And the part of that is because I'm not a partner. But don't get the views. If people, no, they need a bigger cut. You stop lying. YouTube was supposed to be where people could create content, original content that you then monetized and sold ads and then didn't give it back. You lied. Okay, it's that simple. You just fucking lied. Google was built on people who built websites. Out of fun, people built websites. I built a website. People needed to find the websites. Google didn't build the search engine. It was demand driven because people couldn't find things. Because originally, when you had the original search engines, you had directories and you had to, every web owner had to, our website builder or owner had to go and register their website with all of the directories. Again, little history lesson there, fellas, not yours. It was co-owned by us to begin with and all the people who put in that free labor and money and effort and time and creativity. And just because you think that you can just siphon it off and summarize it and do doesn't mean that it's not valuable. Okay? Again, it's these people that think that learning, like books or information or art, is only as good as its utility. They're the people who also don't hire photographers and don't pay designers and, they don't pay anyone what they're worth. They're just moochers and thieves. And unfortunately, our whole industry is run by moochers and thieves now. People who don't value art, don't value the process, they don't value anything creative. And people who are creative end up having to deal with their bollocks, right? So even the people who are using AI in a creative way, they get kneecapped because of people who are trying to constantly fuck it and abuse it. Because they're just there because of what it can do for them, because they get a laugh out of it. They get a laugh out of wrecking the thing. So everyone must suffer because of them. ChatGPT would have been fine if people weren't selfish and didn't fuck things. Or the image stuff and, people weren't constantly trying to abuse and get around these things with prompts. If they weren't trying to constantly jailbreak AI, maybe we wouldn't need to fucking, restrict it so heavily. If people could be trusted to share and share alike and actually honor what they say and do the right thing, maybe OpenAI wouldn't have to be a fucking, copyright thieving, neutered, absolutely shithouse. It doesn't do anything anymore. It's absolutely shit. You ask it a question, it goes, here's where you can find the answer to the question. No, I'm asking you the answer to the question. It's like, well, okay, well, that wasted my time. May as well. It's definitely a fucking assistant now. It's like that Bubbles from fucking AbFab as an assistant. Right? Google Raj Coder. Hi, I have a question. Hello. Yes, go ahead. But it's What was I going to say? I don't know how, I don't know whether these people are in the minority or the majority anymore, because they have overtaken tech. It's all about what they can take. They can get a fast buck. They just abuse every system. They abuse every algorithm, and they turn around and they act like they're the victim when you call them out on it. Like, I'm the negative one. Like, I've had this before where they're like, okay, well, how do you change human behavior with AI? Robert Scoble did this, right? And he was like, oh, how do you change human behavior with AI? I said, with an ethics committee and consulting with psychologists and like they act like I'm some sort of negative naysayer. It's like, no, I'm sorry, but that's unethical. You don't. The answer is, unless you're a psychologist and fucking go through an ethics committee and, go through the correct process for ethics, which is something that humans have learned from the early days of psychology. We have learned that we need these gates around things because it hurts people and it is unethical to fuck with people's heads, especially with their data. Okay? Just because there's a loophole right now in the law doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do, and it's not unethical, guys. It is not your right to just do those things. It's the same thing with web scrape. Just because I've written it on the internet doesn't mean that it's yours to steal. Just because it's there doesn't mean it's yours to, and again, I'm not talking about piracy from corporations. It's a different conversation. Stop moving the bar. I'm talking about theft from everyday, normal creators who actually care about what they put out and the quality of what they put out. And, the people who show up and they get fucked by these guys, right? Want to ask, how can create what is different between algorithm and code? They're not different. Algorithm is code. Algorithm is just logic, right? I don't know. Yeah. Algorithm is code. It's just logic. So if this, then this, if this, then this, and algorithms get increasingly more sophisticated. And the difference between that and an AI is that an AI can self-teach and create that logic itself. So learns from the inputs and adapts that input into that logic. But it's basically if-else statement. If this, do this. That is code. That is an algorithm. And obviously machine learning is and an LLM is a form of machine learning and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, that answers your question. It is code. They're the same thing. But, obviously what you put into those algorithms determines what you get out of them. And that's what we're seeing at the moment. But I'm having more of a philosophical conversation about how people look at information, right? Like people who, everything is just, again, this is just commodification. Everything is commodified, right? And that's, but there are people, we've got to remember that there are people here, right? How do you create with that using AI, the AI girlfriend thing? Okay, well, that's unethical. It should be illegal. There should be hefty criminal charges for that. You don't know that. That should be run by, and if we are going to develop those types of technology, so this is the difference between a tech bro okay, my specific objection, right? Yeah, well, I'm not your teacher, so I'm not a CS person, so that's okay. But yes, yeah, they are different. They are, but this is a general audience. I'm not a teacher. I'm not teaching CS, and I'm not teaching engineering. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about something that maybe you should hear. Google Raj Coder, which is to not let code dehumanize and let you forget why you do what you do, which is for the people. Okay, there are people on the other side. A lot of people who don't understand people escape into code, okay, and think that they can avoid that, but you shouldn't. You should be always thinking about the people on the other end and whether they are like. So let's use that example of AI girlfriend, right? I'm not saying that AI girlfriend app shouldn't exist, okay? I think that's not necessarily, that's not fair, okay, or reasonable or even realistic, okay? What I am saying is that we've been here before with Facebook, okay? So with Facebook, when they started, it was, they said, trust us, post your thing, hang out with your friends, network with each other, okay? Then Facebook started running experiments where they could, this was in 2013, it came out that Facebook were running experiments whether they could, you can actually listen. Okay. You don't need to ask me what my topic is. You can just listen. Listen or don't. It's up to you, but I'm not, yeah. It's fine. It says what the topic is. I'm just talking. This is someone who should really learn to respect that there is a human on the other side of this talking about something important. Okay. So with Facebook in 2013, it came out that they were, and again, people might not remember this because this was, it's funny how this was 10 years ago now, 11 years ago. But it was scandalous at the time because Facebook were running experiments on whether you could manipulate people's emotions or affect people's emotions positively or negatively with sentiment analysis in their feed. This was before you had the different reactions and all of the different things, right? This was sort of early, it wasn't early Facebook, but it was fairly, as their product was maturing post-newsfeed. And so what they did was and basically that was pretty much consensus from psychologists and tech ethics people and people like that was unethical, that it should have been supervised by psychologists, that they didn't consult with an ethics committee. So when you do academic research, okay, these processes exist for a reason, okay? The reason why you need an ethics committee in psychology when you're doing experiments and why you need these things is because of the dark past of psychology where they would run, do electric shocks. They would do unethical experiments that caused harm, okay? Psychology has a very dark history in doing that. And these things exist for a reason, okay? Now, this is the thing with tech bros is that they think that just, again, everything that they do, they just reinvent the wheel. They don't realize that a lot of the reasons why these laws exist is because something happened that meant that we needed a law and we needed these processes, right? So, and that's why we have a psychology board, because the harm and the dangers that you can do to people by fucking with their heads without training, without oversight, without an ethics board, we've lived that for 100 years and it wasn't good. It's caused real harm. And so in 2013, Facebook obviously copped some heat for that, which is that they did research, internal research and experiments that didn't go through an ethics committee. And because that's dangerous, right? And it's the same thing with this AI girlfriend thing, where you just turn around and go, well, I'm just going to create this. It's like, well, no, you're not trained. You have and honestly, the people who make these things are socially retarded to begin with. It's usually incels and shit that make this stuff, okay? So they don't understand the harm they're doing. They're injecting their, incel worldview into these girlfriends to begin with. And they're actually going to cause harm. They're going to, we've learned, when you actually look at the research from Facebook, what amazes me is how few people have learned from these, holistically from history, the internet history here around what Facebook did, because they've rewritten the story, which is that they innovated because people are so focused on the wealth and the power and the fact that it's just a product and they don't understand quite how it works. And they get banned every so often, but they don't really think much about how these things work in the background. And there is no real ethical oversight of these algorithms in terms of what they're actually doing. And the research is coming out that, again, I've said it's mixed, it depends, right? There's lots of different perspectives on it. But you can't just go and make an AI girlfriend app with no training or oversight or some sort of sign off from an ethics committee. And that was where OpenAI were supposed to be doing that kind of work, where they were that was why people sort of turned a blind eye to a lot of the creepy machine learning shit that they were doing, studying the network, studying a lot of those things, right? A lot of the reasons why a lot of these research projects were allowed to go ahead was because they were collaborating with academics, and that was a big part of what they were doing, which was that it was meant to be for public good. It was why they were a not-for-profit. And I think, again, I think people get too again, I'm across the law. That's, the legal side of this is, my primary angle and primary focus. And I'm not here to argue about the quibbles of the law here, because we have to get back and go, okay, it becomes a more philosophical question, which is, why do these laws exist? How did we get here? Okay. Early cyber law, it became, copyright has been a problem, which a few fundamental cases around the internet have been more not so much around what is right, but what is technically viable, right? It's not necessarily technically viable to police the right click of an image, okay? Anyone can just right click and save an image. It's not a feasible thing. It's not something that you can enforce. The same thing with piracy, right? They can make it more difficult for you to pirate. Like I use Kodi and the plugins like everyone else, right? Because we didn't for a time, but it's gotten to a point again where I can philosophically justify these I could, with Disney Plus and Paramount and all those like extra services where, Netflix was supposed to disrupt paid it was supposed to disrupt cable, and then instead they became the monsters that they were trying to disrupt. Okay. But it's not, I mean, again, it's the same monster at the end of the day. It's still the MPAA and all those things trying to control the internet. That's always been the case. And Netflix are over a barrel as much as Spotify, right? I understand that. I've tried to build products over the years. I tried to build Spotify. I know that the biggest block for me was with the Spotify like product that I built back in 2007. The MVP, it fell over because you'd have to pay licensing fees to the labels, and the labels would want to run it, and it kind of, you couldn't just, they own the show, right? They'd take you to court and sue you into oblivion. So the fact that Spotify exists means that the labels have them over a barrel, right? And you'll see that. That's why a lot of it is to like keep the labels and MPAA and RIAA happy. It's the same old shit, right? But people are forgetting the history. They act. This is the problem, I think, with this. Again, this is the normal thing with any generation. They think that there's no learning, everything is new, okay? But a lot of this isn't new. A lot of this is old battles, okay? It's old battles in a different costume, all wearing fucking jeans and sneakers and telling you to trust them when they shouldn't be. Fucking Microsoft. Don't ever trust Microsoft, ever. Microsoft are the bad guys, regardless, all the time, every time. They're the bad guys, always. In anything. There's not much grey there when it comes to the commercial, like in terms of ethics, right? And in terms of the marketplace and what they've done to the internet, Microsoft are the bad guys. Okay. So it's but it's just what was I going to say? So a lot of these things where they're not new. Oh, sorry, what was I talking about? Yeah. So we haven't, like with Facebook and these experiments, it's like, I'm not saying that the AI girlfriend shouldn't exist. And this is the thing where these are the EAC guys and the the accelerationists, they're all in their 20s, they're all idiot, they're all incel fuckheads, and they think that they're the first people to think of all these problems or to go through these problems. It's like, no, we've been through these problems before. We've learned these lessons. And even before 2013, we learned that you shouldn't be developing these types of products that fuck with people's heads without oversight from like ethics committees. And so you should be partnering with academics to make sure that there is ethical oversight on these products, because they can do real harm. And we're seeing the end result of a lot of this stuff now with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat. Again, I'm not generalizing. I'm saying a lot of these harms, okay, there's a lot of good too, but a lot of these harms could have been prevented had they engaged with ethical, if they'd gone through the process that any psychologist or academic researcher has to go through if they're going to do real research, okay? Not just building product and it's like, well, you can say that you build fast and break things, but you're breaking people. Breaking. Well, when you say break things, what are you referring to? Because at the moment, I see a whole cohort of tech people who want to dismantle society as we know it. That's not the breaking things, okay? Because these things are actually quite marvelous, and actually the reason why a lot of these institutions exist is because, as flawed as they are and as gameable and fucked up as they are and as compromised by capital and all of those things, and, you know, as oriented towards disaster, everything that humans touch is, these institutions, for the most part, come from somewhere. They're not just arbitrary and made up, okay? You know, like the academic, you know, like especially like psychology is a really good example of that, and medicine, and you know, these institutions have learned the hard way that we need gates around these things because people will get hurt, and that we need to move a bit. Thank you, Google. Thank you, Raj. I hope you've learned something, and I hope that it informs you a little more to think about your role. If you are a coder, think about these things. Think about the human impact of what you're doing. That's all I ask of anyone in tech, is to actually, you know, believe when you say that you're human-centered, be human-centered. If this hurts a human or has the potential to hurt a human, do something different. Don't do it. Refuse. You can refuse to do it. It might be harder. It might not pay as well, okay? But there's a reason why people get paid what they get paid to work in these companies. There's a reason, okay? You may not get paid to do evil, okay, directly, but you do get paid to, I think I do. I look at it, and I think one of the things that you are paid to do is to turn a blind eye to what's going on. Okay, so it's not, you may not be touching evil directly, but there is a part of your soul that is for sale. You know, and again, I'm not saying that individual people or individual teams, that they're not, again, I'm talking about net good, net negative, whatever. But this is just something that you got to always be thinking about in tech. And I'd love to do some stuff around this for other people who are in tech, who haven't really thought about what we're doing and the ethics and the stuff. I am someone I bought the Kool-Aid the first time. I'm not buying it this time with AI. The stakes are too high. And so, like, creating these products that with no oversight, okay, you know, that can actually do real harm, okay, like these. But when talking about AI girlfriends and, you know, that sort of stuff, that is like, I'm not being reactionary. I'm not saying they shouldn't exist. I'm not saying that I'm threatened by it. I am saying that as the mother of sons, okay, I'm lucky. I've given them a no, I'm from Australia. Are you going to America? So it looks like you're probably looking for a tech job, yeah? Okay, that's good. Do that. I think it's the money's good, but don't let think things through. I drew Raj. I assume, are you from India, Raj? Or Raj is like, yeah, it could be Raj, Sri Lankan, could be anywhere. I've known a few Rajas in lots of different places. But if you're sort of looking to make the move as an engineer or a coder to America, I do believe that you can make a difference, okay? Just don't buy the Kool-Aid. Don't buy the Kool-Aid. Remember that remember that there's people at the other side of stuff. And I think that engineers just need more reminding than others that there are people, right? Yeah, I can't really guide you. No, I don't. I have not. I've self-selected out of that process because I don't want to do that. I'm more in. I was in tech, and then I switched out to do the regulation side of things. So I'm not the person to ask about those things. But apply. That's all you can do, and try to find someone who works there who can recommend you. That's probably the best way to try. Okay. The best way to go is to make friends with someone who works there and get them to recommend you. That's the best way to do it. Because it's a lot of it is who you know, like, and it's a small club, and yeah. So, anyway, so but I think that this is. I feel like we can get back, and maybe I'm just stupid. I think that we can. I'm just frustrated. Like that, I know that we went through this with the car. We go through this with every bit of technology, and somehow humans end up figuring it out. I don't have a big audience. I don't have much really in terms of, to offer. The only thing that I can do is just ask people to not lie to themselves. Okay, it's okay to turn around and go, you know what, I'm doing this job. It pays well. I'm working for big tobacco. I'm working for these people. They're not trying to make the world a better place. But how can I try to make them be less shit, like, you know, while I'm doing it? How can I do little things without buying their bollocks, okay? Just don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's all I'm asking, is to remember that there are people impacted, but also, you know, like with these products, to think critically about them. Okay, like AI, like it might be that you don't like the New York Times because you've sat on the internet for the last 5 years and watched the New York Times be what it is, right? And all this stuff, right? Doesn't mean that they're not doing the right thing. Same thing with Elon Musk. If he's going after Media Matters, that's fine with me because they suck and they deserve it, right? He has the resources to be able to like tease out like that they're a rotten organization. Same thing with, you know, anything that gets to the courts and goes through discovery is really, in America, is generally good for the public because the public gets access to information that they wouldn't ordinarily get. So when rich people use the courts, that information becomes valuable because it becomes public record and we have information that we can use to affect change, okay? So something like with the New York Times filing with OpenAI, I hope that it goes ahead, okay? Because, now remember, a filing isn't a court case. It's just a filing, okay? It's just their complaint. It has to go to be heard by a judge for them to see if that is a case that should proceed, okay? Now, there's all this procedural shit. But so like with Sarah Silverman, excuse me, still recovering from COVID. Just give me 1 sec. I'm going to do the gross thing. But anyway, but when so basically they put a claim in and then they go, well, no, this would be better as a class action. So they join up with a few other people. And there's all these lags and processes and, you know, but it got dismissed. Okay. And then they've got to try and find another way to bring the action in a different way. Right. So it's a lot of cases, you know, don't proceed through the courts. Okay. Because they just get dismissed because Meta's lawyers, Google's lawyers, Amazon's lawyers, they are very powerful and they have a lot of money and it is America and corporations run the show. But every so often you might get a boss fight, like something like the New York Times, where they've got the resources, right? Where they go, no, we are going to fight this fight. But it's not the New York Times that we're not rooting for the New York Times. What we're rooting for is the law, the legal case to get through so that law can be made so that you can actually have a basis to regulate. Okay. It's the peripheral benefit. It's the societal benefit. There are like secondary parties to a lot of these things and you know, peripheral stuff, right? That where it's like same thing with like I said, Elon Musk sort of fighting some lawsuits that I agree with, some that I don't agree with. He abuses the courts. He's rich. That's what rich people do. Rich people abuse the courts to do their thing, right? He's the the epitome of the bad man. Okay. But like what his court cases do is enable there to be information and action because he can afford it that people like me can access in order to, you know, affect change, right? You see how it works? That's how it's like, you know, when you're trying to, so it's like, it's not so much about like, oh, it's New York Times versus OpenAI and picking a side. It's like, okay, well, what question of law will this proceed? Will it move forward? Okay, if it does, what's, you know, and I'm of the view that these things, obviously, that they need to be regulated because they can't be trusted to regulate themselves. Because every time they are, like it's quite funny actually, since the New York Times filed that lawsuit with OpenAI, they basically turned it off so that it can't parrot like copy like the stuff. And it's like, well, we turned it off. It's like that's our defense. It's like, well, no, you don't have to be. You don't just keep going. I used an example with Paul, and you know, like I don't know if you've ever seen like there's the high octane kids, right? There's kids that are like chill, whatever, but there's these high octane toddlers, and you if you've had one, you'll know, okay? And they are the toddlers who they just keep running, they don't stop talking. Like me, I don't stop talking. I'm a high octane person. Don't stop talking. I wake up, I talk. I'm an Energizer bunny, and I just keep going until someone stops me. Okay. And it's just like these toddlers where like, I had this friend whose kid was like this, and he would just run and keep running until an object stopped him. Okay. So he would run, hit the table, run, hit the wall, run. He would just keep moving until something or someone stopped him. Okay. That's tech bros. Okay. You can't run a society that way. You need people who know, who don't. Of course, you need people who run up against the table, get stopped by the table from time to time, but that should not be the default. Okay. You need to be, that analogy might have fallen apart, but I'm trying to say, like, that's not a good thing. Okay, it's dangerous, it's reckless, you risk injury, all of those sorts of things. Like, you can't just keep climbing the roof and climbing the roof and climbing the roof and thinking you can fly and thinking you can fly, because eventually someone will get hurt. Okay, someone will fall off the roof, someone will die, someone will get injured, permanently injured, and it's often someone who's not the person who fell off the roof. It's the person who was like landed on, or it's like you got to protect. You can't run a society on people who constantly push everything until they are stopped. And AI is doing that, where they're just trying their luck. And this is again, like I said, this is just the same problem over and over again, which is the attitude of tech bros, which is that they think that it's technically legal, we can technically do it, she'll be right. Even people like me who go, no, that will be illegal 10 years from now. You enjoy it. It's a window. It's a window of opportunity, but I'm sorry, but that's not what the law is. Yes, the government might be useless. They don't understand how to fucking print a Word document. I get it. But when they catch up, it will be fast and it will be severe. And we're seeing that at the moment, which is that regulation is like bang, antitrust, bang, regulation, bang, that, bang. And you're seeing that like across the world. That is the trend. And I said that, I said you can't do that. Okay, unless you're going in, you can't build a sustainable product that way. You could build a get rich quick product, get in and out. Okay, so there'll be people that got rich fast and then got out and then, move on to the next thing, but before the law changes. But if you want to build a sustainable tech company, like, you can't be building these dark patterns and everything into your business. I said that. It's like, because they will be illegal at some point, because eventually if things are unethical, they generally become illegal once the law catches up with you. So you try to stay on the side of ethics, because eventually, especially if it fucks people over and fucks over consumers and hurts people, okay, or you think it might hurt people, the law will catch up eventually, okay? It's part of the reason why I live honestly and authentically, and I generally don't break the law, and I don't steal, and I don't try, because I go, well, you're going to get caught, right? Eventually, you end up being caught, okay? And so, because you might be able to get away with it. Then there's people who go, well, the law technically doesn't like cover that. Well, yeah, but it will. They just haven't caught up yet. And also morality, have you heard of it, right? Boundaries, have you heard of it? Other people, society, have you heard of it? And that's my argument with this sort of AI and tech bros in general, which is that, you don't need to just push everything up to its limit, push people to their limit, and push it till it breaks for your own amusement, or for money or whatever. It's like, no, I'm sorry, but I'm not on your side. I'm not on your team. You need an ethics committee. That exists for a reason. You need regulating. That exists for a reason. You need to pay users for their data. That exists for a reason. There's history there. You need to pay for things because you keep talking about fucking merit all the time. I don't want UBI, because you know what? The people who are advocating for UBI also want all of the social institutions and social services dismantled and give us all UBI so they can bring about their libertarian wet dream. No, I want them to be taxed and heavily and paying back into the society that they've stolen from, wholesale, so that artists can afford to live. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. So that you can, they should be funding people to create. Yes. Oh, no. Someone might be idle. Someone might be lazy. Oh, no. Sorry, Protestants. Sorry, Puritans. Someone might actually be fucking idle for 2 seconds. Sorry, not religious. Fuck off. Art is valuable. Art is a vocation. Just because you don't value it and you see everything as a consumption, something to consume and wreck, doesn't mean that others do. Right? So, fuck off. Go away, Americans, with your stupid, retarded fucking worldview. Right? That's not how humans are. That's how you are. And you're projecting that onto everyone else. But 90% of humans are not that way. And if we were given a system that allowed people to collaborate, allowed people to dream, allowed people to fucking think for 2 seconds, allowed people to not attach eating, shelter, water to like basic survival, to working 12-hour days and having to parrot corporate bollocks and lose all self-respect, like humiliate ourselves in order to eat, the world would look a lot different. People wouldn't be as resentful. People would be happier. People would be more creative. People would create, like I will create regardless of my economic situation, right? I will create whether I am poor as fuck or rich as fuck, okay? Because I'm a curious person, and I am more than happy for, I don't see the reward for my labor, okay? Right? I get my labor stolen by people who think that they've got merit. I don't get rewarded for mine, right? That's fine, right? But like, it's like I get, but but even if things suddenly flipped upside down, where people valued analysis and valued creativity and valued the things, the thing that we were sold, the authenticity and all of those things that we were sold by these fucking people, in these psychos in jeans and sneakers, telling us to trust them. Trust us, bro. We support women in tech. I love women in tech. I support women in tech. I tell them that every day while mansplaining to the fucking nth degree. I tell them that I support women in tech because I help them. I help these poor little wounded animals. Don't listen to them. I don't respect them, but I do help them. I'm a good person. And also, anyway, don't get me started on fucking dudes with women in tech. Anyway, it's a whole other thing. Engineers who think that designers don't do anything important until they realize that no one will use their product. Or like they think that at the moment you're seeing that thing with the humanities where they go, oh, the humanities is useless. Well, yeah, it's working so well for you, isn't it? Given that you need the humanities more than ever right now, because we've learned some stuff. There are some principles there that tell you that you're about to make a catastrophic fucking mistake and kill millions of people. So maybe you shouldn't lay off the AI girlfriend app. Calm down, consult a psychologist, consult an ethics committee. I'm sorry, but if you're going to create any kind of nudge and any kind of AI tool that nudges people or creates like the illusion of a synthetic relationship, okay, whether you are an influencer right up to a product, or an AI girlfriend, I'm sorry, you need to be regulated and licensed and sign up to ethical guidelines. Sorry, you can't just go and do that. Fuck off. Okay? And don't hide behind open source, and don't hide behind innovation. You're lying. You're one of those guys that's exploiting it. Okay? You're not. That was not the intention behind open source. The intention was about being free. It wasn't about exploitation of getting free shit. It was about doing the right thing, paying it forward, and trying to improve humanity and improve society, not make it exponentially worse, which is what these tech bros do. Okay. And it's not a coincidence that they're the same people that are on X, just with a blue check, stealing memes and stealing tweets and stealing jokes, asking nothing, because they have no imagination, they have no creativity. They can code, they can assemble other people's ideas, but they don't have any real ideas of their own. But then they call themselves innovators because, Elon Musk pays them a share because Elon Musk is one of them. Okay? That's what a capitalist is someone who can't create anything, so they use their money. Right? Okay, I'm not saying that having capital isn't of value or a skill. Okay. I would say that under this system, making money is the easiest fucking thing anyone can do if you are a psycho. Okay. Not so good if you're not. Making money is the easy part. It's reconciling your ethics and who you are as a person, and actually, I saw a video where like Elon Musk is willing to lie. Okay. There's other founders who are not willing to lie, and they will not be successful, not be as successful as someone like Elon Musk or Sam Altman, because they're not willing to lie and they actually care about their product and their users. Again, I say this from experience as someone who's tried to get funding. And I thought that it was my product. It wasn't. I've had equal products that are better than most like guys that got funded. It was because I was not willing to like sell the data, and I valued security, and I wanted to comply with the law. Not run up and push up against, and they of course gaslight you and call that lack of innovation. It's like, well, no, I'm just smart and I know that what you're doing is going to come down crashing on you. But they don't care because they're above the law. Capitalists think they're above the fucking law. Okay. And it's like, well, no, you can't just buy your way out of all these problems. I'm sorry. I have a thing that no one else has, and that is my voice, for now, my brain, my perspective. I'm creative. I'm curious. I build things. Okay. You can't take that away from, there are people who are just not that. They're not imaginative. They're not clever. They're not curious. They don't read. They see, the only reading that they do is, listicles and tweets. Okay. They want everything fast. Right. I reckon there is a whole thing. I reckon you could, well, not reckon. I don't reckon it. This is the case. That people who behave in one way, they behave that way across other areas of their life. Okay. So if you are, if you're in a relationship, you probably got transactional relationships where you think that again, it's a whole profile. These dudes who think that their wife and their kids are there as status symbols for them. They're not individual separate people with dreams and goals, right? They're not curious about, they don't ask people questions. They just talk about themselves. Okay. They don't ask about that. I imagine that being married to these guys who take things from everyone else, also, I'm guessing their wives don't come very much. And that they don't know much about their wives as people. They probably don't know what their kids like or do. They are people who they only exist for their own. Other people are mere tools in their entire lives, right? That's the profile of a narcissist, right? If you believe that's like sort of DSM stuff, which, again, that's open for debate. But, there is a whole psych profile, whole behavioral profile around takers and builders. And unfortunately, I thought that they were in the minority, but unfortunately, I think people are just now so beaten down and alienated and atomized that we can't get back to being builders anymore, because we're just exhausted by the takers, who are the minority, because of this mindset that the stuff that we don't live in a society where people do the right thing and people can be trusted to do the right thing. And the people who are selfish and who just take what they want, like, why would any parent want to teach their toddler values like don't steal, don't be a bully, be kind, don't fucking, all of those. Well, why would you bother to try and teach your children that when that is now a lie, right? Because every institution, every structure, especially in tech and corporations, and every job is literally to reward the worst people and the worst behaviors. Why would you not raise millennials as they are right now? Right? There's something honest about them. Moochers, takers, incurious, don't learn, selfish, and it's like, well, okay. And I know I sound 100 years old, and I know that it's not like a whole generation, but I'm just saying, like, societally, everyone that I see who is successful in corporations and in tech, government, it's people who can step on others, who aren't very creative. They don't make way. They just don't speak up. They don't say anything. They don't do anything. They come, they do nothing, and then they die. Okay, but they have so much power that they squash people like me who are curious, vocal, original, build, right? And it's like, okay, well, I thought that was the minority. Turns out it's not. So how do we move forward? All I'm going to do is ask tech to remember that there's fucking people and it's not yours. You didn't build it. You didn't make it. If you're in tech right now, you didn't build it alone. If you're in tech right now, you didn't build anything on your own. Even OpenAI, the academics, stand on the shoulders of the giants before them. Okay? It's not yours. It's ours. It's everyone's. Pay. For fuck's sake. Pay! Not yours! And it's definitely not the shareholders. They don't do fuck all. Is there anything less interesting as a fucking vocation than a fucking shareholder or a hedge fund? People who create nothing and make the world a worse place. Can we just say, like, no to these people? They don't build anything. They don't make anything. They don't build anything. What do? Nothing. But they take the credit. Why are they suddenly the focus of society? Why are they suddenly the most important fucking thing in the world? They don't do anything or create anything or help anyone. Oh, it's the mum and pop shareholders that suffer in the end. Fuck off, it is. Anyway, I think I'm going to go. It's time to go. Love you. Thanks for watching. I'm deciding whether I do New Year's stream or not. I probably won't, but I'll probably do it New Year's Day. But every year I don't do New Year's resolutions. I generally just tend to sit and think about something that I want to focus on, in terms of getting better or better at a skill or like whatever. And mine is working on being less condescending, even if it's unintentional. Right, some of it is performative and stuff. Trying to be a little more charitable and a little less condescending this year. Just working on that. Whether it's intentional or not, it's it's not good. So I'm going to try and work on that. But I'm going to go. I'll be back soon, and take care. I got to piss as usual. All right, where's my? Okay. What a load of old shit!
Elon!
All right, I just waffled there, Stephen. I sort of wandered off on a tangent. I got tired and faded. But I'm just a bit sick of this stuff. I really am. I don't know. Like, I despair at the world. I really do. I just, tech bros, they're just the worst. And I know that it's I hope it's temporary. But I do hope that, like, ordinary people start saying, what is wrong with you? What's wrong? Like, you might be rich, but you're a horrible person. You can't, just because you've got money and you throw your money around, doesn't make you a better person, or it doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you anything other than new money. And like when did we throw that idea out that new money was fucking, like, it's gross. My grandmother used to say, Irish Catholic, she's like, they got all the money and just fucking still can't afford any class. It's like the same thing with all of that. They've literally got all of the data and they still can't use it to read a room, right? Same thing. Anyway, I love you. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your precious life seconds. And I will be back in a couple of days. I'm going to try and be a bit more focused, but I've got to obviously make some money because, we live in this hellscape where, I got to beg for scraps. But anyway, I've got to get some stuff done so I can pay my rent. But if you want to become a patron, that would be great. If you don't, that's fine too. I understand. We all live in this dystopian hellscape together. And all I can do is do my bit and hope that it passes. I will talk a little more about I can talk about the lawsuit a little bit more, but like, I tend, when it's just a filing, I'll talk about the filing, but the OpenAI New York Times case is something that will just either settle out of court, which I think will be the most likely thing, or be dismissed, which, depends on which judge that it might be dismissed, or they'll negotiate. I think that they've got a case. I think it'll go ahead. But I don't think it's going to get to the Supreme Court unless they have a particular desire to hear it and clarify the law. That's, it's one of those things where you got it's a marathon, not a sprint, and there's other things. Anyway, you got me in a mood where I'm sick of tech bros and I'm sick of fucking psychos running the show. Can we just be better, please? Can everyone just be a bit better and nicer and reward kindness and reward people who think and not reward people who do the opposite of that? Like, why are people the incentives are just backwards and perverse. And it's like, I don't know how to overcome that. Because I just did what everyone asked me to do and I've been punished for it. So I thought I was a good person and I thought that I was but you'll always find some person who's like, no, you're not, you're a horrible person and you're an idiot and I hate you. I was like, well, aren't you great? Okay, what have you done, anonymous internet person? Right? It's like, I didn't do anything wrong. You do what I do. You show up with your real name for 5 years, talk to nobody, and get fucking no reach, no growth, nothing. You do that, and then we'll talk. Right? It's like, fuck me. Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure you're a much better person than me, random internet person. Direct me to your YouTube channel where you put it out there and show up and maintain integrity. I dare you. Oh, it doesn't exist? Oh, yeah, okay. Citation, please. Anyway, I'm going to go. I love you. Thanks for watching. Take care. Tell your friends. Or don't. Whatever. Everyone's stupid. Gotta go. I love you. Bye. Gotta piss. Always gotta piss. Fucking hell. No one tells you that about getting older. You gotta constantly piss all the time. Bye. I really gotta fix that graphic. Also, why is the button not supposed to stop streaming? Why is it not doing that? It's on a timer. Become a patron. Sick of this shit.